What is the difference between a chakra being open and Kundalini being active in that chakra? The chakra model, which we, again, discussed in last week's broadcast, chakras, if you look at them from the perspective of many different traditions, some of them New Age, some of them very old, ancient, traditional, each writer will tend to focus in on one particular aspect of the experience of these whirling vortexes of consciousness and energy that when you drop your awareness inside of your body, you drop your senses into any of these spaces that are associated with meridians joining and whirling energies going around these movements of energy potentials coming together, kind of like the magnetic field generated by an electromagnet because of the movement of energy through the circuit. When you drop your awareness into these spaces, there are multiple layers of consciousness that you can put your awareness into. For instance, you can drop your awareness into your pelvic floor and you can feel physical sensations there. You can put your hand underneath your pelvis, wiggle your hand, and you'll feel some pretty physical sensations. You can take a deep breath down into your hand and your pelvic floor will expand into your hand and you'll feel muscular sensations, physical. You can also start doing some deep breathing for a while without your hand there and start to feel tingles, electrical sensations, subtle energy. You can also put your awareness there and pay attention to the emotions that are connected to the somatic tension in those muscles. If you're deeply fearful or anxious or controlling, you may constantly keep the muscles of the pelvic floor tight and lifted. People will call you anal retentive. If you're very, very relaxed and grounded and mellow, those muscles will tend to be looser, and you'll tend to also experience that looseness. This may also affect your intellect, and you can experience that by dropping your awareness into that space and thinking, using your cognitive mind, your problem-solving mind. You may also have a level of intuition that takes place in this particular place in your body. You may notice that when you're talking to certain people, your pelvic floor tightens or loosens. You might notice that in a situation that your body interprets as dangerous, perhaps even before your cognitive mind does, you suddenly get that pucker effect as your rectum closes and lifts up into the body and your adrenals start to squeeze. This is your body's intuition saying, move now. Every different part of your body experiences each of those levels of awareness differently. And so using the chakra as a model, you can say that it's like, again, this is purely metaphorical, symbolic. If you looked at each chakra as an onion with layers of onion skin, the bigger outside layers, the really easy ones to notice, those are like the physical and then the subtle awarenesses and then the emotional awarenesses that have to do with that part of your body, that region in your body. At the very center, as you get subtler and subtler towards intuition, the very center, you experience something akin to vast space or emptiness. If your meditation is stable enough, if it's coherent enough, and hovering on the edge of that experience, you can experience tremendous bliss or ecstasy. This is true in every single one of these places along the central channel that are called the major chakras, the important chakras. It is possible, simply through doing a lot of deep breathing and physical exercise, to pump out the outer layers of the chakras like they're on steroids, so they become palpable, even to people who don't really believe in subtle energy. They can put their hand near that person, and they can feel that the air feels denser or feels tingly, and that puffiness may go out several feet, it may go out several yards around the person, compared to a person who doesn't have much physical vitality. And that's true of every chakra, but especially the bottom one, the one that's down around the pelvic floor and the tailbone. Doesn't mean that this person is enlightened, doesn't mean that their Kundalini is awake. Even the head, you can learn to breathe with your awareness in any of the brain centers. Do a lot of breathing through that space or breathing with that space with your awareness there, and physical breathing at the same time. And you'll get tingly feelings. I guarantee it. And people may even be able to feel those tingly feelings outside your head. You may even get a little bit illuminated. Your body actually is generating some photons and can be seen. So your aura looks bigger. Doesn't mean you're a saint. Doesn't mean you're enlightened. Doesn't necessarily mean Kundalini is awake. Kundalini itself, if you guide it through the very core of all of these centers, along the vagus nerves, if you successfully get it to go to the very center of that onion at each of those chakras, each of those onions, and pierce open the center, you will have a profound experience. There's a different profound experience at each of those levels, and that's what Kundalini piercing or opening the chakras is really about. It's not the same thing as simply energizing the chakras, which can also be very useful and may give you various side effects and awarenesses, magical abilities, etc., or seemingly magical abilities.